Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stamping Up here in New South Wales, Australia. I just want to very quickly jump on to something I've noticed a little while ago. Um, the other day, if you watched my Tuesday Night Live, you would have noticed that I um, did some fussy cutting with using the craft plate that's Stamping Up giving at the moment when you join with a craft knife. Now, I have done cutting on glass plates for a long time over the years with scrapbooking and everything. And the glass in the craft plate is a tempered glass. Now, I don't know whether that's part of a little bit of an issue that I found at the moment or not. And I just want to explain this. I went to clean my glass plate this morning and I've noticed I've got a couple of little scratches on it. Now, those scratches could have been caused from wear and tear because you are going to get wear and tear on these plates. Hi, Deborah, how are you? So if you're using it constantly every day like I do, you are going to get wear and tear. You may get those scratches. And I noticed that I've got a dining room table and my dining room table is actually also made of tempered glass, and over the 20 years or so that we've been using it, it has scratched up quite a bit. So look, all I'm going to say is be prepared, but don't be alarmed if your glass mat does scratch a bit, because it is going to happen. It isn't something that is not going to stay pristine forever. It is going to happen. If you are concerned with using a craft knife on your glass plate, what I suggest you to do is grab something like what I've got here. Now, I'm going to turn my camera down so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's my glass plate. You can't see them, but I've got a couple of little small scratches just here. And I don't believe that that was actually where I had my craft knife, but it is in the area where I do a lot of my work. This is the glass plate that I have been using for years and years and years. Now, this is not a tempered glass. This is a piece of glass from a photo frame. Now, you have to make sure it's glass and not perspex. And this is not cracked or scratched at all. And I have been using this for about 10 to maybe even 20 years with cutting on it with a craft knife. Now, the other day when I used it on this mat here, I know I didn't put any pressure or anything on it because if you've got a good sharp knife, you're not going to need to put pressure on your knife. But what I'm saying is if you are concerned with this getting damaged at all with using a craft knife and you want to try your fussy cutting with a craft knife rather than a pair of scissors, then get yourself a cheap photo frame. Make sure that it is glass. Remember to put some masking tape around your edges because being glass, it is sharp, it is brittle. Okay, so you do have to treat this with care. It's not like your tempered glass, which when breaks will actually shatter rather than being sharp. So that's just a little side note that I wanted to make because it was something that I've noticed this morning, and I didn't want people coming back to me and saying, hey, I've done what you told me to do and my plate is all scratched up. Okay, so it is a little bit of a warning. If you do want to cut with a craft knife and you're concerned about this getting scratched, then grab yourself a glass plate from a cheap photo frame. Okay, let's get started today. And I know I've been playing with this particular, let me just open up my catalogue here properly. I've been playing a lot in the last week or two with this particular paper, the Flight and Airy. I really, really love it. I'm going to be sad to see it go when Stamping Up goes, and I will admit I've got 2 packs of it. Please excuse me today. I woke up this morning with a bit of laryngitis, so my voice isn't the greatest. Um, but we'll keep pushing on. I'm glad you found that information helpful, Deborah. I just couldn't bear to think people coming back and going, "Hey, it's scratched." But I mean, it is something that's going to happen with wear and tear. It's like I didn't want my dining room table to scratch, but with 4 boys, hey, it's all scratched up. Okay, so let's make a card with this. Now, the card that I have, I really love this card here. I don't know whether you can see it. Let me just lift it up. Really love this, but I don't have all the bits and pieces that they used to make this card. I don't have what they've done their roof, their birdhouse with. It's from another stamp set and die bundle in the annual catalogue. It's the one I think that has got the merry-go-round, I believe. Yeah, Deborah, the self-healing mat, the only problem that worries me with that is when I do cut into that, and I suppose it really depends whether if your blade is not sharp, if it's not a new blade, and you've got to put a bit of pressure on it, it can go into the self-healing mat, and it doesn't give you that same slip. Whereas with glass, if you're cutting with glass and with your craft knife, your paper and everything slips around easily. You don't have to move it much to get a bit of movement because the whole thing you want to do is keep your hand like okay, I'm not going to take the cover off it, but the hand that you're holding your blade in, you want to keep that straight. You don't want to sort of have to be turning and twisting because that's where you're going to get your sharp edges and not a nice cut. So what you want to do is hold your knife straight and then move your paper. And with a self-healing mat, you don't get that freedom to actually move your paper around because it just slips. So, and with a self-healing mat, your knife has always got that problem that it's going to actually go into your mat a bit because that's what they're there. That's why it's a self-healing mat, is so you can cut on it, but your paper doesn't have the same slip. So that's why I like to use a glass mat over a self-healing mat. I like self-healing mats if I'm cutting straight lines. And I use it all the time for quilting and that sort of thing. But I do like, for when I'm cutting paper, I do like to use the glass. It just, you get more of a detail cut and a smoother cut. But that's also too, it's like with anything, it's like I've said it quite a few times. If you're going to try something, you've got to practice. It's like people say to me, "Oh, you do great watercoloring, or you're really good with using the blends." I can't do that. It's practice. It's just, and it's the same with cutting. It's whether you're cutting with scissors or whether you're cutting with a blade. It is all boils down to practice. It's like when we were kids. I know when my boys were little, and they were learning to use scissors. My husband just went and got them a cardboard box. We got a whole stack of paper, some scissors, and just said, "Go for it." And they just stood over the box and they learnt to cut. Um, and it was just practice for them to learn to cut on lines and to learn to cut things out. Um, don't expect you're going to learn how to do it straight up. Anyway, hi Marie. Great to have you with us today. We were just talking about the glass mats. I have found this has scratched up a little bit, so I'm sort of just offering a bit of a an option if you don't want to scratch your plates. And I think it is because it is tempered. Um, to me, this mat, it's almost got a softness to it, and I just sort of even wonder whether there's a tiny little bit of coating of something that's in there that has scratched. But I mean, anything glass is going to eventually scratch. But I do like to use my glass plate. And I think probably if I go back to cutting a lot more with my blade, I'm going to be using that glass, bringing that glass plate down and using it rather than just using this on its own. But anyway, as I said before, let's get back to this card here and what we're going to do. So we're going to make not this card, but we are going to make another version of a birdhouse card. Now, this card I did see, I was looking at it on Pinterest this morning, and it was done by oh golly, it's Barnes, I think it is, Diane Barnes. She's an Australian, and it was just a very, very simple birdhouse fold. So it's a fun fold, and I thought that's what we're going to do. So bear with me. We're going to have a little bit of play and see how we go making this card. Now, as I said, please, if I get a bit scratchy in my voice and my voice starts going, just bear with me, because this morning I pretty much didn't have a voice at all. My husband really didn't want me doing this today. So what I've got here is a piece of half a sheet of A4 cardstock. And of course, if you're using the American letter cardstock, again, it's just a half a sheet, just cut down through the center. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score this like I would normally do for a 10-fold card at my 14.9. So I've given that a few runs with the scorer. Now I'm going to grab a pencil. Please excuse my pencil. I've just realized it's a Creative Memories pencil. I've had this for years too. Okay, so I'm going to pop this onto here, and I want to mark, actually I might do it with a ruler. So I'm going to just pop that trimmer out of the road for a bit. I'm going to bring in my ruler, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure. So I'm putting my ruler down here. There's my score line there, and I'm putting that on a 5 centimeter mark or 2-inch mark, and I'm going to put a little mark at the beginning and a little mark at 10 centimeters. So I'm going 5 centimeters either side of that score line, and I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, so I've got 2 marks there, 5 centimeters either side of my score. So I'm just going to place my ruler out of the road for a moment, because we are going to need it again. Bring my trimmer back in again. Now I'm only using my scorer. I've got to move my trimmer out of the cutting blade out of the road, and I'm going to put those marks. So there's 5 centimeters on this side of the score line, and there's 5 centimeters there on the other side of the score line. And I'm going to put that into that groove that the blade runs down. Just remember, we're only using the scoring, and we're going to score that across that diagonal. Now we're going to move this around, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to pop that notch that I've made there into that runner, and we're going to find the other one and also pop it into the runner and score that. So basically we've made 3 score lines, one through the center of my card, and then 2 at an angle, forming a big cross. So now I'm just going to fold my card in half and grab my bone folder, give that a firm press. Yes, Deborah, you do have to look after yourself, but it's just one of those things. Our weather here has just been so changeable. Now I'm also going to fold these on those diagonal score lines and give that a really good burnish with my bone folder. And I think because we're going from hot to cold all the time, I've just managed to pick this up. My husband was sick last week with a bit of a flu-like cold, so I think I've just now got it. So there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to push those 2 pieces in, and you can start seeing how that is forming a peak. So this is going to form our birdhouse. Now we want a nice fold there, and all I'm going to do is making sure that everything is lined up at the bottom. before I come in. As I said, just make sure everything is lined up. Come in and then just, this just wants to move a little bit. And give that all a really nice burnish down. Just like that. So everything there is nice. So there's our front or our card base. Okay, so it's going to open up and have those two folds coming into the middle. So that's our birdhouse card. So then what I want to do is, I've already cut one of these. I do have to cut a second one, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to eventually cut a hole out in the middle here. And I've got two pieces of designer series paper. Now I've already cut this one, and that one we're going to adhere onto there. So I've cut each of these pieces at 10 centimeters by 14.4. And all I've done is I've put a little mark up there at my halfway, which is 5 centimeters. And again, I've put a little notch either side here at 5 centimeters. And I did the same on that piece. And I'm going to bring my trimmer in again. So I'm going to pop that notch in there at 5 centimeters. This one here, which is also at 5 centimeters. And this time we're going to use our cutting blade, and we're going to cut that off. So we're just removing that triangle. So I'm going to flip this around and do that again with the other side. Now I just can't quite see that other mark. There it is, just there. Just double check. I'm actually going to double check this way, because I'll just make that a little bit darker. Okay, so popping both those two notches in that groove, and again we're going to cut. So there, so that's a panel to go on the inside of my card, and this is the panel to go on the outside of my card. So again, just pop that out of the road for the moment, and I'm just going to grab a little rubber here and just remove these marks off all of these. One there too. Okay. Now I'm not going to pop that one there to one side for the moment, but what I do want to do is we're going to adhere this piece onto the front, because when I run this through with the die to cut my circle, I want it to cut through both of them together. Hello, Linny, how are you? Now, of course, if you wanted to have not as much border around the outside of your designer series paper, you just need to make your paper that little bit bigger. So give that a really good rub just to make sure that that's all probably could have just made that a little bit higher at the sides, but I'm not being too worried about it today, because I am actually got an idea for covering some of this up. So I'm more concerned with getting this part right. Now I've got here one of the dies from my beveled circle dies, and I'm going to pop that on there. I'm just going to use a bit of post-it note tape to hold that in place. Now I'm just eyeballed that, but I am going to check myself. So that's about 2.5 from that side, about 2.5 from there, And yes, that's going to be about where I want to do it, because I do want to put a little bit of a framework here so it does look like it has got a roof. And what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in, just pop that to one side and bring in my cut and emboss machine, the big one. And my mats 1, 2, and my 2 3s. Pop those in there. And just run that through. Just going to give it one more go just to make sure that it has cut through, because we're cutting through 2 layers of cardstock. Take all that out. I'm just going to pop those plates just underneath there so then we know where they are, and we'll just take that off gently. So there we go. There's our birdhouse card so far. So now we've got this second piece which we've cut as well, and we're going to pop that on the inside here of our card. Please excuse me. Now I did choose a lighter colour to go on the inside of my card, because if I wanted to send this to someone and I want to write on it, I didn't want to have it too dark, and of course I just wanted that colour to pop through there. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Nothing worse than a rough throat. Okay, so pop the lid on my glue again. So the next thing I want to create for my card is actually a roof line. So I was thinking, how can I do this? Because Di's card didn't have a roof line. And I thought the best way to do it is I'm using I'm just working out the name of not that one. The scallop contour dies. And you've got these beautiful scallop rectangles, because I just wanted a small scallop on my roof line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut out this piece here. So let's just bring back my cut and emboss. Usually I try to get away with just using my mini, but not today. Pop that down on there. And run that through. So that has left us now with this piece here. And so it's got nice little edging across here and that lovely little scallop. So what we're going to do with that, I'm going to cut 2 pieces off down the sides here. So I'm just going to grab my little guillotine. And I'm just going to go to, you've got 1, 2 scallops. So I'm just going to go to the indentation of the 2 scallops. I'm going to cut 2 scallops off that side. I'm going to turn this around and cut 2 scallops off the other side. And fingers crossed, this is going to work to make my roof line. We will make it work. Because I've just been sort of like going, yeah, I think so. I think it should work. Okay, so let's bring this in. Still got a bit of cutting to do. What I want to do is pop one on here, going in that direction, and one on here going that direction. Okay, so it's just going to give us a bit of a roof line. Now, if you wanted to, you could bring that all the way down and have your roof line coming from there, which means that you would have to trim off a bit here, but you've got that nice finishing with a nice scallop, or you can have it with the roof line coming from there. It's really up to you which one you prefer. So there's the two. I'm just going to put my finger there. Hopefully you can see. So one here comes down longer and one comes up shorter. I'm actually going to do the longer one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I want to line it up where I want it to go. And I'm actually going to make it. So I'm going to go through there. And I want to cut that. Actually, probably the easiest way to do it would be to pop that onto there, but I want to miter this. So I'm going to take this down because I can trim this off with a pair of scissors, but the top part I can't. So what I need to do is pop those two on there, and hopefully, I am hoping that. Now, mitering is a sewing term, and it's where you have the seam or the joint going through there. It's also can be a carpentry term, I suppose, because you would have your photo frames mitered or your okay. I'm just working out which is going to be the best way to do this because I haven't even. We might probably the easiest way might be to do it that you line up because I want. Oh God, I'm thinking all over the place at the moment. So please excuse me. Whoops, my picture has gone. Take that back to solo. Because you don't need to see me wipe my nose. I'm actually going to take that down longer because what I want to do, but I'm making sure that scallop is on there because I do want that to finish off at a scallop there. And I want to try to get this to finish off at a scallop up here. So I am fiddling a bit. I'm sorry. I'm going to bring that down a bit because I'm trying to get a nice miter at the top that is going to look reasonably neat as well. So what I'm sort of thinking of doing is I want those two pieces there. Let's see if this works. If it doesn't work, I'll have to redo it. So I've just overlapped those two pieces and I've got that scallop there. Well, the other thing you could do is overlap it with, that's probably better. Overlap it with half a scallop. Let's see if that works better. You'll see the reasonings for my silliness when I'm finished. I hope. And not just a foggy brain. Yeah, actually, I'm going back to there. So I've got what I've done, I've gone back to my original thought. I've lined up, there's the corner of the brown piece that I've cut, my frame. I'm lining up the center of that so it all works even. I like where that's meeting just there. So I'm going to put a line there and a line there. You want to try to hold those together. And then you're going to grab your paper snips without letting those two pieces move that are crossed over. And you're just going to cut straight down through the center. And that's going to give you two pieces that are going to miter together like that. Probably could have done that a little bit better. One's a little bit different to the other side, but it may have just moved a little bit. But let's see how we go. Doesn't work, we'll just get another piece of paper and try again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue that piece down there and glue, and I am actually going to trim off just a little bit here. That will make that look just that little bit neater. Okay, let's glue these pieces together. And then you might be able to see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to achieve. So this is the piece that's going to go on here. Try not to have some glue going off there because we are going to trim that off. And then we're going to pop some glue on here. Again, I'm not taking it all the way down to the bottom. But those two pieces together. I'm just going to neaten off the edge there a little bit. Just let that dry for a second. And then we can just very carefully trim that one off. And then trim that one. So there's our mitered roof line. Do you reckon it's cute? Now another idea I had too, but I'm not going to do it because I think it's just too much. But you could cut. I've got two of the beveled circles here, one smaller than the other, so the one on the middle is the one I've cut, and you could cut two of those also in this paper, in that paper, and you could put a little bit of a frame around there, but I don't think it needs it. I think if you put a frame around there, because I've got this, you're going to lose a lot of this prettiness on there. So that's our card pretty much made, and there's my internet, or this sort of kicking out again. There we go, we're back. Fingers crossed, let's not lose like we did the other day. Now you can leave that, because I've used a floral paper with the birds on there, I can leave that like it is, which is similar to what they've done here. Okay, so they haven't actually cut out any birds or anything. They've actually even missed all the birds in the paper that they've used, because they've used quite a smaller piece than what I have. But if you wanted to, you could cut some more birds out, some more leaves out. But all I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to stamp my sentiment. So I was just having a look through what I've got for a sentiment that I like. And I have gone to Enduring Beauty, because I really like the Embrace the Beauty of You, because I just thought this is so cute and it is beautiful. And so it was a nice sentiment that went with that. And hopefully to whoever I give this card to. So I'm going to use the pecan pie because that's the colour that's in our roof line there. And also too, when I looked at this, I really liked that pecan pie stamped on their sentiment on that too. So I've got a piece of the fresh freesia, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment, which I've got here. And I'm going to stamp that onto there. and we're going to cut this out. Now you've got a choice. We could cut it out as a strip. They've done a couple of strips on theirs. That's wanting to poke up a little bit, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue in there. Just a tiny weeny little bit, just so then that sort of glues down. I might just pop a little bit underneath there. You could also put a glue dot, just give that a little bit more. Now, of course, if you don't like this that thick too, you could make it a little bit smaller, but it was just easy cutting the 2 strips. So we can fussy cut this around, or we can cut a strip. I did have some little birds here if I wanted to put some birds on there. Because you could put that on there as well if you wanted to add some extra little birds. I'm just wondering what else have I got that we could. I think what I've got might be in the wrong colour. Got this little container of bits and pieces. I've got that die out because I'm working on something else, so I might just grab my die. I'm going to think about how I'm going to cut this first off. This is my fuzzy brain working at the moment. Let's just do a little bit of trimming here. I'm going to leave that simple. I'm not going to try to fussy cut that. I'd already fussy cut the birds for something else, so I can use those. But what I am going to grab it's really good since I've reorganized my workroom and I've got my punches all next to me. Yes, that will fit in there. So I'm going to use this punch here. I might just do this upside down. The reason for that is so I can actually see where that is punching. It's too far out. So I'm just doing this a cheat's way. I'm just going to keep punching until I get it to where I want it to be. Who else does things like that? Just keep punching until you get it. Yep, that's about right. So that could go there. We could even cut that down maybe even a little bit more. Let's have a look. I think my birds are going to be way too big. So I could keep them for what I was doing earlier. I might just even punch that down just a little bit smaller. And that's about as small as I want to go. It does look cute with that bird there without losing it. But let's just have a look. Let's just see what other birds we could use. Something that's going to be fairly quick and easy to cut. Just wondering whether. Problem is with these birds is they're going to disappear into the background paper. I think I actually need quite a big bird. So where are those big ones? Here we go. One of those. We've got that bird there in that colour, so let's go for another bird in another colour. And that one, I like this one, but it's cut out. So let's see if I can find another piece of this paper. Otherwise, I've got another sheet, so that's no problem. There we are. Have we got a better bird on there? That's the one I'm thinking. So let's do a little bit of fussy cutting here. Remember, when you're cutting with a pair of scissors, again, you just want to turn your paper and keep your scissors still. And that's the same as when I was talking about earlier with using your craft knife. You just want to keep your craft knife still and turn your paper. So it's the same principle. So I want that one there, but I do want, now I have going to grab, I've got it here, this is die, and I'm just trying to work out what color paper. I think we might use some of this. So this is Lost Lagoon. Show you there's a smaller piece. Get a couple of those on there. We do want to make this look pretty. Yeah, the other bird's going to be nice, but we need something for him to sit on. Hello, Joan. How are you? Excuse me. Sometimes I find this die doesn't cut real well the first time through, so fingers crossed, because I didn't run it through a second time, that I can get this out. Just give it a bit of a, it's fine sometimes just putting my fingernail on there, giving it a bit of a wriggle helps, but it's just that little bit right there. Might need to get the scissors in there. I think I'm going to have to not talk for the rest of today. My children used to always say, "Mum, you sound cute when you've got lost your voice." I think it was because I couldn't shout at them. Oops, doesn't need to cut. Oh, something sharp. A corner piece of cardstock flipped up, and it was just caught underneath my arm. It was sharp, digging into me. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut a second one of those. Please excuse me. Where's the lid of this one? There, right in front of me. Should paint them black so I can see them. Run this through a couple of times this time. This one should come out a lot better. There's two of those. Now, I'm just going to have to move you for a minute, so please don't get dizzy. I'm just going to grab my baker's twine, which is right behind there. So please excuse my arm and everything. Wrong one. Won't be one sec. Let's grab the right one. And I want some white baker's twine. Some of these things don't come together in my head until we start actually putting these together. Now, I could have also used to cut this out the because another project I'm doing where I was going to use this is using the Lost Lagoon, but also because this one here, the paper I've used here is much softer, so I probably also could have done it in the soft sea foam. But I think because of the strength of this, I'm going to stick with this one here, because I think it's just going to need it to not be overpowered, because you do want it to stand out a little bit. So that's going to go there. We're going to have our little bird sitting in those branches. So we can pop that there, that there. And if we wanted to, we could bring in a second one there. So that's going to sit. And that could even just sit on top. Okay, we've got a little bit of an idea of what we're doing. So I'm just going to pop some glue just on these bottom branches here. Now you could put a little bit of a window sheet behind the window we've cut out if you wanted to, and then glue some of these branches onto that if you're a bit concerned about it being so delicate. Pop that onto there. Just leaving a little bit of it just going out over that open window. Then on this one here, again, probably different branches, the ones at the top, but I've turned this around a bit. And I'm going to have that one going. Just there like that. Doesn't matter if some of these are overlapping. You can trim it off if you want to trim it off. I'm going to grab some dimensionals. Now I do want a bow. Put my lid on my glue because I don't like it when it dries out. So let's just make a single bow. Don't want too big a boat, but we do want not a small one either, because we want it to sit out a little bit. I think that's going to be fine. Actually, what I might do is actually glue that straight down. Now it's weather. I'll put that like that. And then the bird there, he's actually going to be that way. The other way we can put this on is fold all that down and have that going out. So I don't mind that. Just needs a little bit of tidying up. Just going to grab this, grab a glue dot. That up there. Just pull those out a little bit so it does still look like a bow, not just a twist of thread. But it's almost like an upside down bow, really. And then I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the back of this. Sorry. Trying not to get that knot on the and you don't want to have too much showing through here like as a dimensional from the other side either. So you could even that middle one there have put a mini one in there. Just tidy these up a little bit, have them hanging down. Maybe even through the center. That one just wants to twist. I'm just going to cut them off because they're a little bit too long. And then I'm going to pop a couple more dimensionals on the back of my bird. And just be very aware where you're putting your dimensionals. I'm just putting 2 on there for the moment. I don't want to put a dimensional on top of the sentiment, but I want the bird sort of sitting just on the side of that. But again, just not putting any dimensionals here because then I'd have them showing through there. So it's only got those 2 dimensionals there. You could, if you wanted to, pop a little glue dot. Excuse my scissors. Because the glue dots are fairly light and thin. And just pop a little glue dot just underneath there. Oops, make sure it's tucked right in under. Grab a little bit of glue. And there you go. So that's my take on, I mean, it's a very loose take. It's not an identical, but I really loved this birdhouse style card. But there's my birdhouse style card as well. Now, if you wanted to, you could actually even stamp a sentiment on the inside because we haven't really stamped anything. If you're going to write anything, I'd be just writing it down the bottom. So where's my stamp set? Let's just have a quick look and see if there is. No, I think I might just leave that as is. I don't think there's a sentiment on there that would go for an internal one. Um, but sometimes with some of our sentiments have got something you can use on the outside and one you can use on the inside. So if you used a different sentiment, then that's what you can do is you could stamp one in there. If you wanted to, you could take the birds, like these little birds here, and pop them in there, but then you're going to lose some of your writing area. So just be very aware of that, because you don't want to write up through where that window is. But there's my fun little card. So it's just a quite a fun, very simple fun fold. And you can have fun decorating that in whatever way you want. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm sorry for my little bit of a hoarseness of my throat and a bit of sniffling and so forth. But I really still wanted to jump on here and have a nice chat with you all. I didn't want to miss out, in other words. So thank you very much again for joining me. I hope you can join me on Tuesday night. And next Friday, I will definitely not be here. I've got my scans to go and have done. So, and that is going to take most of the day. So I'll be out of action next Friday. So it'll be Tuesday night and then again, hopefully the following Tuesday. So take care. Have a lovely day. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll catch up with you next week when we create together again. And if you make one of these cards, please jump on to my VIP group. If you haven't joined it, join it. That's Stamping with Michele, or Keep on Stamping. Keep on Stamping, I think I've called it. And post your cards up there. Would really love to see them. And it's really good to be able to share ideas with each other too. So please, by all means, jump on there and do that. So take care, have a lovely day, and stay safe. Bye for now.